just to get us started before we officially kick this off, Mr. Clinton said that he wanted to get together with the original collaborators of Paint the White House Black. My name is Gabrielle, and I work on the mothership. So myself and some of our partners work together to make this happen. Thank you, Carrie, so much for helping us bring everybody together. And so today we just want to get together and kind of talk about the experience. Paint the White House Black. How did it get started? What was that experience like? And in 2020, is the White House, is it Black? Have we officially had a Black president? We have a Black VP. Let's connect some of the dots from then to now. So just to get us started and get the ball rolling, where did the idea start? Whose brainchild was it? Where did it come from? How did that process begin?
Well, okay. So what happens is that I came in to run Prince's company. So I ran Paisley Park. Okay. And my first project that they threw at me was George, right? And they said, okay, we got most of the album done, and we're just looking for 2 new singles and the whole shot. So what happens is that me and George got together. It was kind of like a family reunion because of the, like the story I just told. And basically, I said, oh man, I got this track that I'm working on with William Bryant. William worked with Mays. You guys might know him, and he was Marvin Gaye's keyboard player, right? So I got this track that I'm working with William Bryant. And check it out and tell me how you feel about it. And he was like, okay. So he listened to it, and literally he was like, paint the White House black, right? And I was like, okay, that works, right? And so all I know is we ended up in the studio, with the starting that thing. And then I said, because everybody is such a fan of George, I said, you know what, let's go out and get Cube and Dre and all of these people, Chili Peppers and blah, blah, blah. And everybody said, oh, you know Cube, you know Dre? I was like, no, but I don't need to know them, right? All I need to do is go out there and find them. So what I did was I found out where Dre was recording. It wasn't Lion Share, I forgot what, The Village. Dre was recording at The Village. And what I did is I put me and George's sessions at The Village. And so what happens is that I told, and we booked out the week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, because, George stays in the studio all the time anyway. So we just booked it out, and and then I told the secretary, I said, listen, when Dre comes in, I gave her $200. I said, when Dre comes in, you let us know, right? And so what she did is, we were there for maybe a couple days, and then Dre walked in, she calls me. Me and George were in the studio working, and this is how it really happened. We literally took our tapes off of the machine and ran into Dre's studio, right? And Dre was like, hey, what's going on? I said, hey, man, I'm Kerry Gordy. This is George Clinton, man. This is history. Y'all need to do this shit, man. And then Dre was like, but man, I'm in the middle of it. I said, take that shit off the reel. And so we took his reel off of the thing. And he's like, what you doing? And then I said, what's that, George?
I say, you got to be the hypes man, because this is the best hypes man. He's from Motown. I said, I'm gonna follow your lead. He said, everybody will do it for you. Everybody will do it for you. You're gonna be the hypes man, because you got all this rhetoric. I'm just gonna say, yeah, let's do this. I know Chuck and I, we was already ready to do. We had done stuff already.
Well, and by the way, that's how Chuck got on the record, because now we're in the studio with Dre. I took his things off the reel. I put our reel on, and I said, hey, y'all go in and y'all start something. Y'all do something. And he's like, well, I don't know what to do, and I don't want to rap. I said, well, I don't care what you do. You can talk. You can say whatever you say. Just say something, right? And so him and George went into the studio, and they just did something. And I didn't even care what they did. I just needed something, right? And so they did whatever they did. And I went and I took my reels off the studio, out of the thing. And then I called Q. And I was like, Q, this is Kerry Gordy, man. we want you to be on this George Clinton record. And Cube said, man, I'm a little busy. I said, man, you ain't gonna give him the respect. Dre gave him the respect. He said, Dre did it? I said, yeah, Dre did it. And he said, oh, well, shit, yeah, hey, I'm coming down. I'm coming down, right? Now, I didn't know Cube before then, but when Cube came down, I had this preconceived notion of who he was. And I thought he was like this guy that was gonna, kick a woman in the booty and all this kind of, I didn't know because, Cube never smiles, right? And that's part of his persona. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was gonna expect somebody who was disrespectful or whatever it is, right? So Cube comes in the studio and I said, so what you want to do? He said, you know what? Let me listen to it and let me write something, right? And so now he brought a whole bunch of people in and I'm sitting up there and I'm going, okay, this is great. So then he says, okay, I got something, right? And then he starts rapping, right? And go ahead, George.
I said, y'all see why I let him do the talking, right?
So we're gonna have to get everybody else's versions of this story now, of course. So
No, because believe me, we had to go through it just like this, and I had to say, I'm gonna follow you because you go just like Motown days.
Exactly how I went back then.
You got that pitch. He had that pitch. Go ahead, man.
Oh, well, okay. So then Cube comes in and he does his thing and he's respectful. He gets on the call, talks to his wife, and he's like, hey, baby, I love you. I'll see you in a few minutes. I said, what the fuck? That's Cube, right? Right. So then he finishes his thing, but he says, he's like, 1, 2, 3, and I come with the wicked. But he gets to this thing where he's talking and he says, I'm top down 4 deep in the mothership tripping. I'm down with George. Fuck Bill Clinton. He don't like us. We don't like him. And Bill's got a little bit of bitch in him. And I was like, oh, fuck. I can't use that shit, right? But when he finished, everybody just in the whole studio just went up in the roar and they were laughing and saying, yeah, that's the shit. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't take this shit back. I can't.
Hey, let Chuck tell his version.
Right.
How did you know yourself to be involved in this project? What is your version of this experience?
I lost it all in a blur. Myself and Flav, and I don't lose too many things in a blur. Carrie, I got 5 libraries, and all of my stuff is books ain't wallpaper, decorations of me. So I got everybody's book. I'm trying to get your mom book too. So I'm very familiar, over familiar, too familiar.
Right.
Motown's in my blood. How Unc tell his story about Sidney Barnes and also the Motown Review and writing songs, and your mom setting up Jabet and companies out in New York and all that. I'm over familiar and always open to hear the minor details that ain't in the book.
Right.
That's how I am, man. So it's more than an honor. So Unc and I had the pleasure just working with Unc on Tweaking. And I felt that myself and Flav didn't work long enough with Unc on Tweaking because I said, man, how much more can we do? But, everything's going fast here and all. So I was like, man, I wish we could do more stuff with Unc. But that's how times and things was moving. And I knew that we laid some stuff on tape. And then I said, well, whatever. And then when I heard about it later, I was like, cool. I want to even do more stuff. But that's how it always is. It's like, man, and things whatever. And I'm like, man, if you could, we learned from Unc. It's like, man, he said, listen, man, you could do one thing, but the DNA can go across 100 different things. And so that's when me and Flav said, cool. If we could do one thing and it go across 100 different things, that's all the better. But we and I think we was just we were tour somewhere, and back then you didn't have the convenience of like kicking it in a phone or whatever, or stopping in a phone booth nearest you, and taking off your S on your chest and recording and sending it out. We had to stop in the studio. So that one time that we was able to do it in the studio, we was like, wow, that worked out. But I was honored to later on to say, wow, okay. Because number one, when things come out, you hear your voice or whatever, you be like, well, damn, when did I do that?
Right?
I know I can remember. I know Flavor don't remember a damn thing. He don't even remember the years, so that's cool. I'll remember it for him. But when I don't remember,
But it
was, yeah,
it was part of tweaking.
yeah, part of tweaking,
It
yeah,
was part of tweaking, and the part that we didn't use in tweaking, we used it in Paint the White House Black, because we was always on the same subject matter, no matter what we was, talking
right.
about, always that subject, politicking and stuff. So we had that left over. I said, well, let me use this. I ain't gonna throw it away, because like you said, it's got that DNA in there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we were happy about that, because I was like, I thought I missed it. I thought I missed the opportunity to get on it. So that was a prime example. It was like, hey, yeah, well, cool. If you could work with that, fine, and that also showed us that go in and understand a 2-inch tape is bigger than a 2-inch tape.
Right.
Yeah. What was your journey like? How did you get pulled into the project? What was that process like for you?
Q brought me in, and I just remember it being, I was thinking while everyone was talking that it was really, I think it was just, was it really a political time then? What was going on? Something was really happening politically at that time. And it was just a perfect time and the song was perfect. Everything fit perfect. When Q brought me in, I was happy to be a part of it. First of all, I was a big George Clinton fan, and it was the perfect scene.
You have to introduce us to your special guest.
I know my special guest, bring Kai over, is my grandson, Kai.
Oh my God.
I am a grandmother. Say hello.
Where? Grandma, where?
Hey.
Hey. Hey, handsome.
Look, say hi, Kai.
Hi, Kai.
Hey, Kai.
And he steals the show. He steals the show. So Kai taking over. This is my daughter Tiffany's baby, and I'm so excited. But like I was saying, I was so excited to be a part of the project, and Paint the White House Black was a perfect time, and I was happy because we were merging. I felt like hip hop was growing in different areas. It was where R&B was touching hip hop for the first time, and that I was excited about that because people had such this stigma on hip hop. So with them asking us to be a part of it, I was like, okay, yeah, we're out of the box. So I was happy both ways. I was happy to be making a statement, happy to be with George Clinton, happy that they called my name, and I was a part of it, and happy that hip hop was branching out.
And still to this day, you are my favorite female rapper.
Okay.
So it's an interesting point that you bring up. When this song came out, we were singing about Paint the White House Black. And at the time we were talking about Bill Clinton. So that, Bill Clinton, we felt like and you guys tell me if that's the mood that was behind it, but a lot of people felt like Bill Clinton was supportive of African Americans. And at that point we were talking about Paint the White House Black, and we didn't even have African American candidates now. So it's how far we've come now that we actually have African American politicians in the White House as the president and the vice president. Is that kind of where we were, where we thought Bill Clinton was the closest?
We had done Chocolate City already. I lived in Newark, New Jersey, where we had already had a black mayor. We had the first black mayor, Mayor Gibson. That was the first black mayor. So it was inevitable, it would be a governor, then a president. So I was just getting on the mothership, riding ahead of time and picturing when Obama was going to show up.
You saw it already.
Yeah, okay, now Kamala is going to take it from there. Okay.
And for me, it was the first time that our generation got a chance to be political out loud and to say something, because we were just, we were 18, 19, 20, fairly young. So to be really political, it was us having a voice and, in politics without being in politics.
Right.
George was the first Black person that was actually playing stadiums. That's it was just unbelievable how much impact that George had on our community and our demographic. and our psychographic. It's really funny. The reason that we decided that we needed to have this great, we put all these people on this song, and it was amazing, because if I had done it the correct way, and if I had gone to the labels and trying to get clearances and all of this kind of stuff, ain't no way that shit would have happened, right? So I figured that I was just gonna get everybody on the record, right? And by the way, Chuck, go ahead.
Remember, you got in trouble when we got ready to release it. We wasn't supposed to release it, and you pull your Motown political powers and and I think your daddy told you, don't do that no more.
That's right. Right. Because the point is I am my point is the result is all that matters. Right. And it's really funny. So we got everybody on there. You had the Chili Peppers. You had, it was amazing. And remember, even Snoop came down to the video shoot, but he was just getting started right then. So I didn't ask him to be on the record, and I kind of wish I had now, but. But the fact of the matter is that we decided, okay, we're going to put together a video shoot. Who is the best producer, the best producer in the world to do this stuff, right? And so I talked with George, and George was like, hey, man, it's Reggie Hutton. That's the only guy, right? That's the only guy, right? And he was so correct. Now, I have to admit, Reggie, you cost me a fucking fortune.
Totally worth it.
You cost me a fortune, right?
But you got 2 videos out of it.
And double the fortune.
Well, look, what was that creative process like for you? How did that come about?
Well, first of all, me doing a video for George Clinton was a dream come true. Me doing anything with George is a dream come true. I mean, I've said this a million times. I'll say it a million more. George Clinton is my primary creative influence. I'm not a musician. I'm here with people who I have deep, deep admiration for in music. I can't make music, so me making movies is me trying to replicate what people like Chuck D and Yo-Yo and George do in music. Because for me, there's no greater level of artistic expression than what Black music is. No matter what you're feeling at any time, at any moment in life, there is a song to express it. From Kind of Blue to Fight the Power to, No Head, No Backstage Pads to Don't Mess With My Yo-Yo, whatever it is, there is a piece of music that can express that feeling. So, for us as filmmakers, our challenge is how do we reach the heights that music reaches on a daily basis, right? And for me, everything that George did and how he did it was an inspiration to me. I mean, when I was looking at the album covers and he would go, produced and refereed by George Clinton, I'm like, referee? Okay, so in other words, yeah, he was the producer, but clearly when you listen to the music, he gathered the most talented artists around him and let them do their thing. He let Bernie be Bernie. He let Bootsy be Bootsy. And, his job was to encourage them to be their best selves and to make and have the entire equation in his head to make it work as records and to make rock records and to make R&B records and to make, every kind of sound, over all these decades. Is an extraordinary achievement. So I was like, yes, George is what I want to be. And, for me as a filmmaker, I remember as a kid, I saw Tommy by The Who, which took their rock opera and turned it into a movie like Ken Russell. And I lived in East St. Louis, right? They got no movie theaters in East St. Louis. I had to take 2 buses and cross a highway divider to see Tommy. Right. So, but when I saw Tommy, I was like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do in life. I'm going to make Tommy, but about George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic. And that is still my ultimate film project. That is still what I'm going to do. Now, after I do that, it may be it. I may leave and sell insurance after that. But to be sure, I will make the P-Funk movie. And what's exciting about, I'm sorry, Joe, I'm cutting you off. Go on.
No, I just want to say, that is the rap that we talked about when we first met you, your mother, your brother. That was this rap. And she said he had posters of Dr. Funkenstein on his wall with the skirt on. And he was talking about making P-Funk movies. Matter of fact, we drew up a contract back then.
Yep. And the thing is, times have come, because when, we had a deal with a big movie studio, and they're like, well, why do you want to make a movie with your friend? I'm like, I said, look, this is George Clinton. This is a pillar of American music. And they're like, well, I mean, come on. I mean, he's not Bruce Springsteen. I said, no, you're right. He's so much more important than Bruce Springsteen. And Bruce Springsteen would tell you that. Oh my God, why did I say that? I was just speaking heresy in the room. I was like, I'm sorry, you got to hear it. Now, fortunately, the kind of ignorance back then, now people are in a different place. So, as usual, we were too ahead of our time, but you've got to be ahead of your time to be on time. So, look, I mean, after 30 years of yelling, all of a sudden with Black Panther making $1 billion, Hollywood studios are like, yeah, maybe this Black thing is makes sense. Maybe we should do stuff like that. So there is a window of availability that wasn't the time back then, but is the time right now. So I won't speak more on it, but believe me, my schemes are working full time to make dreams come true. But getting back to the video, so Carrie calls me and says, hey, video, here's the song. So I hear the song and I'm like, this is incredible. This is everything I love. I'm very political. I love the funk. I love all these artists that are appearing on the album. So I'm like, this is fantastic. I mean, again, one of the things I love about Chuck D and PE is not only do they make great records, they have subtext in the samples they use. Like I was listening to Brother's Gonna Work It Out yesterday. And the fact that he would combine Sly Stone's screaming with Prince's guitar solo from Let's Go Crazy and loop those things together. And I'm like, do y'all know what he's saying with these quotes?
We was happy. We was happy Carrie didn't come after us.
Wait a minute, but Chuck, when I told George, I said the only people that I have to have on the record is PE, Cube, and Dre. He said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about. We got PE, and I got the tapes right here, right?" And so I listened to the tapes, and he said, "We can use that piece right there." And it was Flavor going, 2 bees and a bucket, motherfuck it. I said, "Wait a minute, we can't use that shit."
You was back to this. I can't use that. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you straight out. I grew up in Roosevelt, Long Island, still there every once in a while because my daughter and granddaughter are there. I grew up on a street called Clinton. So Clinton was our street. And in the 70s, we always pointed to George, like this is George's street. The name of the town is Roosevelt, so it's named after presidents, but Clinton wasn't the president when we was growing up. So the only Clinton that we knew, well, other than the DeWitt Clinton, was George Clinton. And that's what we called that street that we lived on, based on George Clinton. We always looked at Unc as, see, a lot of people looked at Unc as funk in the 70s. And I go back to be around, Reg's age and all, and your age, Carrie. We looked at Unc as being futurist and a visionary and Black rock. So it was always that futurist thing, we're talking to uncles about, they said, man, no, this bruh is about over there. Like the same way people looked at Sly. It was, funk was there and the funk was the thing, but the future was in Funkadelic in Parliament. And that's what laid it out. To paint the White House black was a no-brainer because, they were talking future stuff in 68.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you listen to Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies and you listen to Sly, P-Funk was the next logical step. He said, here are the Titans. like you say, here's the bleeding edge of what's important in music. And you know, George just said, got it. I'll take it from here. And you're absolutely right. It's the big ideas in every album. Look, I remember my eldest brother, he showed me the Maggot Brain album cover. And he says, and I was he said, whatever you do, don't listen to this, which meant I had to listen to it.
Right.
And I remember, you know, every album and everything. And then when Undisco Kid came out, it was like, oh, damn. All the layers of just the keyboards, from the straight piano to the keys to theremin, all that stuff that was happening.
Reg, and
yes,
to
sir.
the covers, because I'm a student of Pedro Bell. Matter of fact, I'm doing a dystopian novel right now. It's called 21 Days to Red October, right? The 10 days before the election, 11 days after. And I'm almost at the end, but like, I mean, of course, I'm taking the moment of what I'm doing right now, of course, and I sketched the moments, and I only got this far to go. But the thing about it, I'm from the school of not even hearing the record and looking at the record and then trying to emulate the record. So the Funkadelic logo, the Parliament logo, all the stuff that from Revlon on to Holland Doja Holland's label, and all that, we followed that as DJs, but I was the dude that had to also categorize the records and the shelves. So that got me through my high school days, because in my high school days, they would reprimand me on scribbling. But then my scribbling went into like caricatures. And then I ended up getting awards, and that was also galvanized by the funk. So it was sight, sound, story, and style. Before, you know, now today, sight, sound, story, and style is commonplace. That's what music is today. Mm-hmm. But what Parliament Funkadelic was able to give us through Uncle George's vision is give us vision that we could see, even if we didn't hear it.
Yeah. Without question. I was just going to say, I was so happy to be a part of the project, because then we started getting behind stage and being able to really be a part of the mothership. And oh, let me tell you, we're talking about going inside of music's den. Whoa! It was like paradise for me. I'm telling you, my mother, everybody wanted to be a part of it. Everybody wanted, and just to say it, everybody had a slogan they wanted me to tell them. You know, everybody had a saying they wanted me to say. And when I was able to go backstage and just for the preparation for the stage and just to see it, it was heaven for me. It was heaven. And I said, listen, and I tell people all the time, some things you do, sometimes saying yes is the best thing you can do, because the journey that yes took me on is more than money could ever buy. The experience alone is something you can't deny. I mean, you'd have to be a part of it. I mean, you know, I remember, you know, coming to backstage and hanging out with George and getting, you know, I'm like, oh my God. And everybody's like, he took my hand and he licked it. Like, that's funky. I was like, what the hell just happened?
That was my signature.
Like, what the hell just happened?
Right? You know, Reggie, you gotta give we gotta give your wife Chrisette some props, because you know, back then we had one television show that we could depend on that was that would put our stuff on there, and that was Arsenio Hall show, right? And Chrisette, she was the person that you had to go to in order to get your stuff. So I sent my people over there and I said, listen, I want to get George on for the whole hour. I don't want no other acts on there, right? And they were like, well, the whole hour. I said, yeah, if you do that, I'll make sure you get Prince for the whole hour too. And they were like, oh, okay. And the fact of the matter is that you got your wife gave me literally 2 full hours to do whatever we wanted to do. And George just ran that show. That was amazing.
That is an amazing story. And yes, my wife is quietly behind the scenes on so many amazing things. Look, from that story to, you know, her best friend, who's now the vice president, you know, she has been one of those people who've helped so many important moments. But yeah, that time, that appearance on Arsenio was crucial. I remember I was directed the Bertie Mac show, and Bertie was like, "We need P-Funk on." I'm like, "Yeah, we do." And I'm directing that episode. Let's be clear, what's gonna happen.
Nice.
So
we had 30 some people on that show.
Yep.
It was spectacular. I remember shooting it, and the whole cast. Hey, you're not working this episode. I'm showing up. Whatever. George is on this one, and we just had so much fun. And the thing is, look, P-Funk it's so many things. It's so many levels. I'm so glad you mentioned the Afrofuturist thing, Chuck, because you know there's so many key people when you look at the history of Afrofuturism, but what George did was he made it mainstream, and he figured out how to make it accessible. And whether you just got it from a like, oh, this is a beat you can dance to level, or hey, those lyrics are kind of funny, or wait a minute, what are they really saying? And George's constant sensitivity to art. I mean, to put a person like Pedro Bell on, who is to me as great of a genius as anybody in any museum, and then Overton Lloyd. And Overton told me one of the greatest stories I've ever heard of an artist and a patron. George was in the studio cutting for the Motor Budio Fair. And Overton's in the studio and he's working on the album cover. And he's drawing, then he does another drawing, then he does another drawing. And George is busy producing all these different, or people coming in and out. And he's just focused on the producing. And Overton finally finishes the drawing and shows it to George, say, here's the album cover, it's the finished work. And George says, no, you went past it. And then he goes in the trash can and starts pulling out the sketches, the preliminary, and then finds whatever. And then he flattens it out and goes, this is it. And that's the album cover you see for Motor Budio Fair. It wasn't what Overton said was the final version, is what George saw was the final version. And he knew that 3/4 half version was the perfect thing. And you think about how powerful that image is and the cleanness, the singularity of it. And you just go, that is how it is supposed to work. That's everyone doing their best work. And ultimately George being the patron going, that's it. The unfinished, raw, funky ass version is the version.
Yeah, you know what? I said it happened like that, but after we both went through the whole thing, I went back and looked at myself standing on the dolphin, riding the dolphins. That should have been the cover. We both missed it. that you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course. No, that's a dope image. Here's the thing: you had at that point, you had so many big, beautiful ideas. I mean, what are you gonna do when you're hitting it that hard? You all were in the zone on every level of artistry to say, look, and then the gatefold cover with all the characters in it.
Yeah, cutouts.
Yes.
Yep.
But you know what? We had to raise Atlantis to the top. That was the concept. We had to be funking so hard that we could raise Atlantis from the bottom of the ocean. We had to wiggle through water without getting wet. That's the kind of rhythm you had to have. In order to live in this day and time, you got to have enough rhythm to move in and out of the hood that you don't get fucked up. You got to do that's the kind of rhythm you got to have.
Right. And look, and those kind of metaphors. And the fact that you would take science, you would take spirituality, you would take, hood gangster logic, and mix it all up, and it all went down. It all was smooth. And at the same time, you rocking so hard on the funkadelic side. The fact that you would have, and the fact that you were the first person to do a deal with every record label in the business. No one had done that before. I mean, Wu-Tang did it later, but no one had done it before you. And it was like, so you were revolutionary in terms of how you manage your business.
Well, I'll tell you, the key to that was trying to be like his dad.
Yes.
they had so much shit at Motown that, you know, that was like the end of the record business. So the only way you're gonna do that is have a whole lot of record labels. Wasn't nowhere in the world to have that many artists and expect them to get along. That was a moment in time that probably won't happen again, because that was like the whole city was on that, whatever group that was. You know, Motown had it like that. And so in order for us to do our thing, my thing was do another version of that. It may not be the same, but wasn't no way you're gonna do the Temptation. We weren't tall enough.
Right.
Short and fat and all that. So we had to forget that we could step, we could dress, we was all of that. But we wasn't 6 feet, so we had to get that up. And that's the only one we wanted to be. You wasn't gonna be Four Tops, because nobody could be Four Tops, because that was the slickest. They were the coolest. You know what I'm saying? So we had to come out and do something that nobody else did. And that was take raw, basic funk, almost like Dolomite. That's what he actually followed us. Take it and make it basic funk, and then let the kids go to church. You know, and the band grew up under Benny Benjamin, James Jamerson. So they had a funk bottom that was unbeatable. So they were 15 years old when they met those guys. So Eddie Hazel and Billy Bass and Berners, you know, he was a classical piano player when he was 7 years old. So put that together, I had the best of all worlds. I had Motown background, little funky kids that got taught by them, and myself having worked on, you know, Broadway, the Brill Building with Joe Bett, but along with Carole King and all the other songwriters. That was what was happening in the late 50s and early 60s. Yeah. That's when songwriting was songwriting. So I had all it, and it changed eventually. James Brown came along and hit us with that groove. It didn't matter what he said. All the lyrics in the world wasn't as powerful as, good God. He had more power and more funk in that grunt than most of us could write in 10 hit records, you know, but that's the way communication is. Like now, they mumble rap. That's the new version. Right. You have to be able to pay attention to who's doing it. Chuck and them, we just did a thing together. What you gonna do when the grid go down? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That number is like all the eras in one. It's like right now, but it's all of the history we came through.
Yeah, Unc blessed us on that just by, he blessed us with that, because Unc's the past, present, and the future at all times. And I just want to ask you, Unc, a question. What happened like back in the day when you got Funkadelic Parliament and you would run into, let's say, a Sun Ra or run into a Mingus? What did they think of you, and what did you think of them?
Well, Sun Ra, you know, I didn't know him as well as I should have known him. I met him right towards the end, but I could dig. We always on that same link, whatever that link was, you know, whatever that vibe was, without even knowing it. Miles was the one that I actually had a conversation with about that. You know, his was like, if it's music, it's music. You know, if it's a sound, it's gonna be music. And he was in love with Prince, and he wanted to do some stuff. I was terrified. He wanted me to do some stuff. I don't know nothing about no jazz. He said, I ain't asking for no motherfucking jazz. I want that shit you doing. You know, but I was paranoid like a motherfucker. My boy that worked with us, Foley, bass player, he worked with Miles, so that, you know, made me pay a little more attention. And then, you know, he got with Prince and they did stuff together. He understood it like that. All the outness, all the inness, whatever was really pop, he could get into anything if it's music. That was what, you know, when you're a real musician, you can do it. Prince is like that. Prince can do anything. Piano player, guitar player, drum, he could do it all, like Stevie. You know, but some people just completely out, like you say, Sun Ra and all the jazz, there's a lot of them. And I took funk and got away because we had Bernie in there. I was able to work with jazz and classical and still make it really, you know, funky. Jane got a little bit of bitch in him.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was slick, but I was still clowning.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I had the equipment to clown with. I had, you know, Eddie Hazel. Oh my God, he was our Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
So it's this is a little serious note, but the world is actually a little bit different because you existed, George. And what happens is that how you have, you know, how the whole psychographic makeup and the demographic makeup that you that followed you, it really, you know, took its own thing. I remember when you were doing the stadiums, and all we wanted to do over at Motown was to get Rick James on your tour, right? Because we needed to get him popularized, right? And so what happens is, I don't know how it happened, but you decided, okay, I'm gonna let Rick on the tour. But you put him in 5th place, right? Because you had you, and then you had Bootsy, you had Brides, you had you know, Parlay, right? And he was like, I'm 5th bill. I say, you know what? It don't matter, because you're gonna be in front of all of his folks, and they're gonna see who you are, right? And he came off of that tour, and right after that tour, he became an immediate arena act, right? And he was arena from that point on. You did that. You did that, man, and you did that for a lot of folks, man. And the fact
he was a friend of mine long before y'all knew him. I knew him from Buffalo and Toronto.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I introduced to Jeffrey Bowen.
Yep.
Jeffrey wanted to sign Bootsy to Motown, and we said no. But then he went and got Rick, and so that was the old Rick actually auditioned for the group before. But we took Bootsy instead. So it was, we had to make it up to him when we did that too. We owed him.
Wow, that's wow. Like, I mean, Chuck, I want to hear every story, every detail. I love reading all the books, but the books ain't enough. Just a cipher like this is so unbelievable. Oh my God.
Just think how fortunate I am to have able to have worked with Rick and George and Michael, and I mean, it's just Prince. Right?
You started out ahead of everybody. So
I did. Right.
But that doesn't mean you run with the baton. The beauty of Kerry is that he ran with the baton. You know, a lot of folks get the baton and drop it.
Right.
A lot of folks are scared of the baton.
Yeah.
You know, Kerry was not.
Oh, speaking of that, guys, you know I'm doing all the copyright recapture stuff, right? And I've gotten millions and millions for everybody, right? And if people assign their publishing and stuff away, I'm like the Robin Hood. And I love making sure that my people didn't just end up with $10,000 in a Cadillac, right? And it's really funny because when I come to people, a lot of people, I say, listen, I can either get your publishing back or I can get you paid. And they'll look at me and they say, ain't you the son of the motherfucker who took it in the first place? Right? but the fact of the matter is that I really want to give back, man. And so, yeah, thank you for that, Reggie, because, you know, you've been a great supporter, and, you know, and we still have a lot to do. All of us, we still have a lot to do together.
But, you know, I'm working with Ben Crump now, and we're getting ready to make an announcement. We're going to help people do just what you just said. We're going to help people each year when their songs come up that they're able to recapture, because most people don't know that it comes up. We're going to make a national Black Songwriters Month, and we're going to help people each year. Tell them whose songs is coming up for recapture. Let them know. Post it, and we're gonna make an announcement real soon. Ben Crump, myself, and some lawyers we got in New York.
Well, that'd be great, you know, if we can work on that together. Because
I'm gonna definitely call you.
I've been doing it longer than everybody, and I'm the best. Right.
Yep. I definitely agree with it. Like I said, Kerry, I've been reading about you ever since zero. You know what I'm saying? Your family's legacy institution is in my blood. I'm born in 1960.
Yeah.
You know, I clearly remember 2 years old and 3 years old popping the fingertips and dancing in the street at 3 years old. And when I and the Beatles at 4, but everything by the Supremes and the Temptations, boom, and Uncle George. I remember, you know, I Want to Testify when I was 7 years old, you know, so these things are everything to me, man. I got 5 libraries, man. If all my books and 3 of my places was in one building, it's a shrine in itself, because I've been a collector before a collector was in vogue. So
Right.
things like for example, remember the rhythm and blues dinner they would have foundation, and every year that either Jerry Butler or Smokey would host it.
Yeah.
Those things we need, like those things we need more than ever right now. And if they say content is king, then now the curation of the content is everything.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Unc. Go ahead.
Cindy Miller, BRE.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, you know, we know that the pandemic is one of those things that people look as being a liability, but the advantage when it comes down to Black music and culture, that it put a halt on everything, even the bullshit.
Yeah.
So it gave everything a head start to get the shit together. Because when they say on your mark, get set, go, we got on your mark and get set of getting the shit together and curating this. It could be a beautiful time. It ain't gonna be a beautiful time automatically. So people like yourself, you know, Yo-Yo, you know, Reg, you know, are very essential for that, for when everything starts rolling out of this box or whatever it might be.
Well, you know, we're talking about that yesterday. I'm sorry. During the tech run, some of the art that George has been doing during the pandemic. Did you want to share some of the visual, or tell them a little bit about the visual art that you've been doing during the pandemic?
Well, you can see we've been doing the pandemic sequestered art. I've been drawing viruses and shit.
Oh man, that's wonderful, man.
Yeah,
and it's big
that's
too.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Well,
I'm sorry, Reggie.
I'm a proud owner of a piece of George's art. You know, as soon as you walk in my house, bam! People go, "Oh, is that Basquiat?" I go, "No, it's George Clinton." And they go, "What?" I'm like, "Yes."
But you know, we getting ready to go getting ready to go worldwide with. I got an art manager now. I got a whole bunch of like 200 pieces that I did from this sequestered, you know, time. Matter of fact, Anderson Cooper did a series on me. I was painting birdhouses.
Wow.
I ran out of canvases, so I started painting birdhouses. When he did this thing, everybody's calling me now. I've got commissioned to do birdhouses. I got to do 100 birdhouses, but I have a real art manager, and we're gonna make an announcement in about a week or two on the serious tip.
I'm gonna send you a couple pieces, from me to you, just to send it.
Okay, yeah, I heard them. And send me some, bro.
Yes, sir. I'll just send it. Do whatever you got. Do whatever you want to do with it.
You're absolutely right, though. During this time, it's a lot of opportunity. On one hand, it's a pandemic and everybody's locked in, but it is also definitely a time for reflection and to prepare for what it is that everybody has coming next. I know that Paint the House. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was getting ready to say, there's a great quote that I use a lot from the great Melvin Van Peebles. He's got a godfather of Black cinema. What Melvin says is, trouble is opportunity in work clothes. And
I love that.
And that is the real Black ethos. We have always, look, we took our troubles and made it the blues. We have always taken whatever obstacles we've come and not only gotten over on it, we've actually turned it into art. We are, you know,
you know what? The word nigga is a good example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You put the right tone and rhythm to anything. You put the right tone to it and the right meaning from your heart. You can do that, but only when you feel it. We got that. It was called Just Groove.
That's right.
You remember Mumbo Jumbo?
Yeah, Ishmael Reed. If you ain't read it, you better read it.
Okay, it's called Mumbo Jumbo. We can take, that's the rhythm I'm talking about when you dance underwater and not get wet. Just in your heart, that is the metaphor.
Right. And there you go, touching people in the literary world. You've touched people from politics to literature to music. There's no part of life that you have not touched.
Because it's a course. It's you really the one of the next steps that could possibly be made for George Clinton is it's got to be a course. It's not something to be engaged on a one-time landing. It's almost like you got to do a 12-week, study, and then out of that comes dissertations and all and books or whatever, tests, whatever. But a 12-week study. Same thing with Motown. Motown is not a landing and then you get it and or it's a documentary. It's a 12 to 16 week course, maybe a 2-year course.
Yes, I agree.
But then also the other thing is that it has to be kind of like I wouldn't say it's a lazy word to push, but it don't inject it. It's got to be injected into our people, because a course that's so exciting like that, everybody else is going to be at that table.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Right. And here's the thing. I mean, I know for my kids, when I brought them home from the hospital when they were born, right, I had it was back in the CD era. So I had six CDs in the car. So I'm like, okay, here's Miles Davis. Here's Kathleen Battle. Here's Marvin Gaye. Here's Miles Davis. Here's Prince. It was like, I'm going to teach you from 3 days old. I'm going to give you one of the biggest gifts I can give you, which is good taste, right? Yeah. And if I teach you good music, now you will find your own music that reflects your own era, and that's all good, but you will know and you will hear real stuff. So then when my son became 6 or 8 years old, he goes, Daddy, you heard this record? He played Shaboom. I'm like, yeah, Shaboom's the jam. But you found it on your own. I didn't put it on you. You had just enough ears to know that was the jam. You know, so he could go from Shaboom to Roddy Ricch. And you just go, my work here's done. And that's what all of us have to do as Black parents. You know, we got to make sure that our kids understand, like say, this epic legacy that, you and me can take for granted, Chuck. Because like you said, I remember listening to Motown records. There was a great compilation. It was one of the first box sets ever seen. It was sold on TV. It was all the Motown records on a 6 vinyl album set. And we bought it, and I would play it with headphones. And I go, why don't all these songs come together to make a Broadway musical? Because it's like they're all talking to each other. My girl and my guy. I mean, it was like, so already I saw the narrative thread that was being built by your father and all those artists working together. They were building this mosaic. So then I recognized that same mosaic that George was doing, building this. He didn't make a concept album. He made an epic concept album over, all these records, over all this time. And that's the thing, we're built to make epics.
Yeah, here's another thing with Unc's catalog. You got songs that are made in 1972 that are answered in 1979.
Right.
If you check the bars, you go through the bars, because now we're at a time where the examination of music is a little bit different from 30 years ago, when everything is flying fast all over the place. Nowadays, people examine bars. They examine like snatches or something, and they stay on it for 5 hours, man. It's like, oh man, he said this, and they'll go into 1 or 2 different lines and make a whole, I mean, no different than what sampling did to music too, George. Now people are doing that from a fan standpoint, going into every single aspect and blowing it out. So that's a new thing.
Well, hip hop came along and made another reality, period. It's like the news. It was like Black news. The beat, the drum. Hip hop was telling you what was going on in the streets right then and there, and it maintained that integrity up until this day. Even though they have other things they talk about it still holds true that, that letting go and being able to express what's happening in the streets, even though they're kids and they're getting younger and younger. That's the only thing. It's becoming younger and younger now. They're 9, 10, 11. They can make their own beats.
Right.
You
know, hey, listen, beats. They doing movies on these things. Now, I mean, not just TikTok short, they doing whole connected movies on a phone at 9. Now a little guidance, a little bit of fun going back and forth. See, the dance with that generation is the thing that becomes the next thing. How do we dance with that? Because it's going to only result in something that's going to make us go like, oh, okay. I mean, I think so. I think so.
Guys, look what I walked out of the studio with.
I got one too.
Yeah, right?
I got one too.
I got 4 of them. I got both slaves and both masters.
What's that, Carrie? An extra crust pizza? You holding the pizza box the wrong way, dog.
Thank you guys so much for coming out and going down memory lane with us for Paint the White House Black. I know we said we wouldn't keep you guys for too long for much, and we've hit about an hour. So I'm gonna go out and ask just 2 questions before we go. Number one, I know George did a lot of controversial music. This wasn't the only kind of song that was a little bit political in his catalog, but for anybody else that was a part of this, did you take this opportunity, or have you chosen to take your influence and move in a political direction right now and everything that's going on? Are you kind of taking that opportunity now to use your influence and have a voice and push in activist directions with everything that we're doing right now in the political arena?
Man, I'll tell you this much. When Paint the White House Black came out, that came off the heels of where Sister Soldier, who's with my camp, went through a little brouhaha with Clinton. The Clinton campaign tried to play her when she made a statement about how we should be as Black folk, and she made a statement that they tried to exploit. It's funny, during 1991, I'd done a video by the time I get to Arizona, which talked about Arizona not having an MLK holiday. So in the video, in the beginning, I have my brother Ice-T in it, and then the beginning intro in the video was Sister Soldier, and they were the 2 people in that year, 91 going into 92, that got exploited by the government saying, oh, this is rap music, and they caught a lot of heat that year. So when Paint the White House Black came out, I felt great being a part of it, because I thought that answer to that bullshit or that fuckery that was coming from their exploitation and looking at a rap song where it really wasn't really coming at them like that, but they used rap and hip hop as something that was divisive. So Paint the White House Black was along the lines of saying, well, we're going to answer back politically and funky at that. So I felt proud to be a part of that. And now that was my angle. And usually my angle is like unapologetic. It tries to be fair, right? It obeys a law. But disrespect in there, it's going to get answered to.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I remember when I met Hillary Clinton for the first time, and I was like, I did a video with you in it.
And you did.
I was very proud to tell her. But to answer, your question a little more directly, like that, I've always tried to be political, both big P and small p, right? Which is that, the nuts and bolts of, getting folks who are going to fight for our interests, even if it's in an incremental way, right? People go, oh, I don't like choosing between evils. Everybody chooses between evils.
Right.
Do you want a tuna sandwich or a hamburger? I mean, depending on your attitude, one is better than the other. So choose whatever is in your interest and go with that. At the same time, the beautiful thing about being a creative person is that we can change minds. Carrie's referred to psychographic a lot of times. Right. And so my thing is, whether it's me doing a movie like House Party, which, actually was a movie about safe sex, but designed in a way that you would never know that, right? It's just a bunch of people having fun. And, you know, we snuck this thing in and it worked. You know, I talked to doctors who said, oh, kids use, when they ask for condom, they reference your movie. I'm like, oh my God, it worked. You know, so that really was a great lesson for me to learn early in my career, that you can make these sneaky asides and they do penetrate. So then I did a movie about Thurgood Marshall, which is very explicit, you know, but people were like, oh, I didn't know Thurgood Marshall was cool. I'm like, yes, he was cool. He had swag, you know, and me and Chadwick got a chance to do, you know, paint who this man, take him off the pedestal and make him a person for a new generation. Or, you know, Black Godfather with Clarence Avon. And people go, oh, there's a whole other way of being a mogul that doesn't involve being famous. You can just be this dude who quietly does stuff. And you go, yes, you can do that too. So I'm always, look, I'm a propagandist, I'll admit it. You know, I'll always have an agenda, and sometimes it's more or less obvious, because you got to hit people on the bandwidth a lot of different ways, you know, and that's me learning from all these folks, you know, on this Zoom. They all inspire me, you know, they're all my heroes. And, you know, I continue to go, okay, let me try to make a movie as good as A Nation of Millions. You know, I'm always trying to get there. Can I make a movie as good as Clemson's Dr. Funkenstein as an album? You know, I go back to those things, like you say, you assess, and it's like funkin' for fun. I'm like, you know, I didn't play it as much as I should have when I was younger, but damn, you know, I remember sitting there with Marcus Miller, right, the great, you know, bass player, and he was like, listen to how soft them drums are. I'm like, yeah, but it's still hitting so hard, you know? So, and I remember Marcus, I was in the studio working on a soundtrack for a movie, and we were sampling some James Brown, and we just kept shortening the sample smaller and smaller. And he said, doesn't matter how tiny a piece it is, James Brown has the whole funk in it. It's like DNA.
Dope.
You can take any piece of DNA and you can recreate the whole thing. And
dope. It's called dope.
Yes, it's called dope. So I'm grateful.
Also, I'd like to say one more point. What was a good thing about that time and that song was seeing Yo-Yo get some shine.
Yes.
Because she was I happened to be there when Cube was starting to do his thing by himself out of the NWA camp. And the first thing that Cube reached out, he was telling me and said, yo, I got this sister out, you know, out in California. She's gonna be the woman that's gonna be on my record, and she's gonna come up. So seeing people get opportunities from a seed, and her being just dope as she is, and also non-conceding to the male point of view. That's because Cube cared, Yo-Yo cared, and when the opportunity came through and it bounced to Yo-Yo, I was really happy to see that.
Yeah, her verse was right on that, man.
What?
The reason that Yo-Yo got the opportunity is she really came with it, though. It wasn't like, well, you know, which is so bad that Los Angeles is so scandalous. Give me somebody that can handle this. Yo-Yo's on top of things. So color me bad. I'm ready for a change, right? Your shit was tight, right?
Like Reggie said, it's a collaboration of it all. I mean, you know, the more I got into it, I mean, just the experience of working with Chuck alone and his whole entourage, being on the East Coast and being a part of that whole studio session, you know, and meeting so many, like I said about you, George, just being a part of an industry of folk that cared, drove me to where I am today. I mean, you know, lyrics matter, community matters, it all matters to me, and I'm grateful because, you know, I had to take myself out of who the world wanted me to be and be who I am and who I wanted to be, which is, it all lined up. So, you know, I teach with the Yo-Yo School of Hip Hop. When I'm talking to kids, I always teach them not to skip a step. And because I went through the entire journey, eyes wide open, with the, you know, fearless enough to say yes, let God say no and I say yes. I was able to experience so many great things. Paint the White House Black being one. Like I said, funking with you. Oh, I can still smell my hand. Blah, blah, blah. Who could ever get over that? I'm just saying, just the whole experience of being involved in it. And like Chuck was saying to you, taking this to another level and being able to do that with credibility and having some foundation up under you is a miraculous thing. You know, I've just been blessed. I've been in the right places at the right time. I am political all the time. Sometimes, sometimes, Chuck, I'll say, I'll let y'all be the bad guys, a little bit, I don't kiss ass, but I do stay up under the radar enough that when I speak, people listen.
Yeah.
I love, so I'm always grateful and humble to be a part of all of you guys' journey and to have the love of Carrie. Come on, like he said, we grew up, same thing Chuck said. I can ditto all of it, to all of us, Reggie, I have some work for us, Reggie. But it's so good to be here and listening to all of this and to celebrate at the same time. George, every time I go somewhere and the excitement starts to get pumped and they play the Q song, gotta put that leg up and woo. I know you just pledged with your line brothers. Who was that? Anderson and Hughley. Yeah. I know. Listen, I'll be around there barking.
Hey, can I say this? When Atomic Dog came out in 1983, and I happened to go down to Howard University to go check out something else, I'd never seen anything like this before or since. It had to be like everybody convened on Howard at this particular time. I forgot, it could have been a spring break or whatever. But I swear, it had to be 1,500 Omega Psi-Phi dudes, and I couldn't. It was an earthquake in there. On the yard. I said, and it was one theme that made them do, because every frat or whatever they might have that thing, but that every time I think of the song, I think of seeing 1,500. Dude, it was like nothing could. Listen, I'm telling you, bombs, planes, warships couldn't get in the way of what I saw that day. I was like, well, and to see that way kind of like later in the game, that it was a song for the moment, which is a song of our lifetime. And we were DJs. So we were playing every Parliament Funkadelic, and then we knew that the record companies all went crazy. And we played the first thing we played, Uncle George. Because we part of the record pool and everything. We push funk, and we in New York, which ain't funk heavy, but we were the funk DJs. And the first thing, and me and Keith Shockley got the record, and we got Loopzilla. So we got Loopzilla, and we started to push that a bit. And then Keith and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And they wanted us, so you know how the record pool was like, they said, well, you got to be able to play some chart Loopzilla. And we were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This other motherfucker right we don't even know what this is. But all I know is that this thing got a life of its own. We can't chart Loopzilla right now. We got to chart Dog. Right. Like, well, the Atomic Dog, but it seems like a little futuristic. I said, listen, man, I don't know what this is. I don't care if we wrong, but we putting the Dog up there with the Loopzilla gotta wait, because they wanted you to put you get the records, you got to chart them. It's like, yo, man, and Loopzilla came through first. We was like, nah, this other joint over here, we got to go with this. This the Dog, and sure enough, we were right within weeks.
George was in the.
I don't know what that happened. I don't know what happened there, George. But all I know is that's what happened with us, and nobody saw it coming. It was like George Foreman when he knocked out Michael Moore. Nobody saw it coming. That Dog went, man, what? And we already knew. I said, yeah, we're gonna support George Clinton with the Capitol. Yeah, we're gonna go on it. We had Loopzilla. We had the burn on it, but the dog.
But you know, the fact that he was so creative, and George, you were in the studio having people cut tape. Remember, it was an analog tape. Cut the tape, turn it around, turn it backwards and shit, and play it and all that kind of stuff. That was just some. That was some crazy stuff.
Hey, that was one of those times when I was on one. You know, you heard the phrase, I was on one. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I thought I was out of here. And I just walked in and before I realized it, I was on Front Street.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, what y'all trying to record without me? And all that, you know, and then when well, here, take the mic. What you gonna do? Now I'm up there like, all of a sudden I wasn't high no more. I was straight. Now I got to come up with something. That's why I talked so long. This is the story of Famous Dog, of the dog, because I didn't know what I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk about freestyling, that was right off the, why must I feel like that? Why? I'm trying to think of something to say. I thought I got myself out on Front Street, but the track was so bad. It, you know, it was backwards and I didn't even know it. I just started singing and I had to leave it like that. And like Chuck said, we thought Loopzilla was the song, but everybody called us the same thing. Hell no, dog song. Whatever you talking about, it's that motherfucking dog song.
It's
I don't even know.
I'm gonna tell you down, man.
Howard,
Oh yeah, and I love the way Reggie. I love the way you use "woo" in Boomerang.
Oh, yeah, because here's the thing. Because at that point, Atomic Dog was so classic. We didn't have to use the whole track. We could use the panting and the wolf and a little bit of George's intro, and everybody filled in the rest. That was the beauty. It was like, no. You know what we're talking about. You know what this is. And everyone knew. And they were like, oh, you start the movie with that? You have the panting over the Paramount logo over the mountain? I mean, we're like, no, we funking y'all up from the first frame of this shit right here. Motherfucker, you know what this is? They done fucked up and gave me Eddie Murphy. And we getting ready to fuck this shit up. Nah. This ain't Eddie Murphy and some cornball shit that he saves with his genius. We gonna surround him with black genius, black excellence top to bottom. Chris Rock, David Landon Greer, Martin Lawrence, studio had no idea who any of these people were. They didn't know what the fuck we were doing. Yeah. You know, and we're like, no. You know, Eddie, you good? Yeah, I'm good. But Eddie's good. Do y'all have a problem with what Eddie wants? No, sir. That's what I thought. We gonna do this shit right here. And we had complete freedom because Eddie got it. Eddie was with it. And if Eddie was with it, there was no more conversation. It was a beautiful working environment. But you telling those stories, that reminds me when I was taking driver's ed. And at the time, the jam was Bop Gun. And there were 2 black radio stations in East St. Louis. So I turned to one and Bop Gun was just fading out. And I was like, damn, I just missed Bop Gun. And then they said, hit to hit, back to back. And for the first time in my life, I heard Flashlight. And it was, I was like, and I'm behind the wheel, because whoever was behind the wheel could pick the radio. And Flashlight came on, and I froze for the entire song. And then when it was over, I fell back. You know, like when you're electrified and you can't move? Yep. That's how it was the entire song. And then I got back to school. I went to my boy who was also a hardcore funk guy. I said, have you heard this new song? He was Bop Gun. I'm like, Bop Gun's dope. But you got to hear this new Flashlight song.
Wait, was that Dr. Jockenstein?
No, well, yeah, too. I wish I knew that. See, Jockenstein was like legendary. See, I was just a kid in high school. But when I first heard Flashlight, it melted my brain. Because it was just like, oh my God, who can make a record this funky? And the thing was, for the next decade, if you want to set a party off, you put on Flashlight. That shit had staying power beyond all imagination. The power of that record. And that hit, and then Star Wars came out, you get the lightsaber, you go to the concert with the lightsaber.
Yo, Reg, I'm giving you some straight out shit. First time I heard Flashlight, Terminator X's brother, who was in the school, he on the bus stop. he got a box, right? It's in the rain. He covered it up with plastic, right? For not let the big radio, get wet.
Right.
He playing Flashlight. First time I heard it, hated the fuck out of it. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Turn that shit down, man. The whole bus stop is it. Heard it again, right? Was a fiend on the third time listening, right? Yo, man, I'm still addicted to it. And because I spent a whole year breaking the song down in every second, and every second was hitting me a different way. Matter of fact, it taught me when I got to make records, to make a record that you hated first, that would bite you later. And that's what taught me. I said, you know what? Matter of fact, I'm going for a record that's going, you will hate first, because it taught us that love and hate's the same emotion. And sometimes hate is confusion. And I said, if you can hate and be confused about it, I can still keep hitting you. This is gonna be the lick that you're gonna want to lick. So I'm saying, and that, and also the dog, I'll tell you this much, and I'm not meaning to soak this up, but I gotta say it, man, because as many times we done seen each other, but as DJs in the pool, we didn't know the mechanics of the record business. We didn't know what happened to Philadelphia International. All of a sudden, the OJs and Gamble Huff wasn't releasing records in 1980, and then all of a sudden we got a couple Parliament records, and then all of a sudden shit stopped, and we like, well, where? And then I heard, then we get this CBS record, and you had done something with CBS, and I think it was the hydraulic funk. And I was like, well, damn, man, fucking industry is counting our heroes out. So we looked at when Atomic Dog came out, we looked at that as like Ali and Foreman, or Ali Foreman, when nobody saw the Thrill of Manila coming. And we were like this, and I went to check out you and Parliament Funkadelic at the Ritz a little bit later on in that year.
Yep.
And you went through the whole catalog, and everybody's going, and then all of a sudden you put a little stop in the action, and then we just heard, and bro, I cried, man. I cried. It was so emotional. I mean, it was crazy, man. It was crazy.
Hey, George, I want to say there's the only one bad thing about my relationship with you was, when I left the fold, left Motown and left the fold, and I was on my own, and I was trying to raise money and stuff for my companies and all the things that I was trying to do, and nobody would, everybody would say, well, why don't you just get the money from your father, or whatever that is, right? It was really hard. And then finally, I got to, work with you and everything, and then I would go out to try to raise money, and people would start Googling me, right? And every time they would Google me, the only thing that would come up is, man, Kerry Gordy, producer, hey man, smell my finger. And that wasn't what white folks that had the money wanted to see.
That's a great album title, though. It's still a great album title.
That was one of my favorite albums. Smell My Finger. That was, man, Martial Law.
Yeah.
And wait, is Way Up on that album too?
Huh?
Yeah. Way Up.
Yeah.
Way Up.
That's
the only one that Prince actually did with me.
Yeah. Well, Prince was a major fan of yours, and he was like, whatever, George, don't even question George. Don't question him. Just do it. Right? That it was such a creative thing. Oh, and Yo-Yo, I just want to say that stuff that you wrote, people don't know this, but I think you wrote that whole thing in 3 minutes. You just came in there, whipped that shit out, and I was like, and you became my favorite female rapper. I said, this girl is bad.
Yeah, Yo-Yo is not play. No. Yo-Yo came to the boxing ring, knocking people down with 4 counts.
And I'm still fighting that great fight. I'm still fighting that
with a sweet tone on it.
Yeah.
Yes. With a sweet tone on it. Exactly.
Kicking your ass with the sweet tone.
Yeah.
True.
So my last question before I let all of you lovely people go, it's been an honor to sit in this room and just soak all of this in. So if there were to be a Paint the White House Black remix, what's it called and who's on it?
I tried that already. And I can't mess with it.
Can't touch it.
Kendrick Lamar.
Huh?
Kendrick Lamar, Roddy Ricch.
Beyonce. And I'll leave it from there.
Or if Beyonce don't want to do it, you can go get what's her name, Kalani.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the people that were on it are still such icons today, right? I mean, I would love to have the same people on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just wouldn't work like that. You'd have to do it with the new school and bring them on in and push them in and have us just in the background sipping some tea with some Kahlua.
I think the logical answer, since we're in such a visionary time, is that it would be something that would work as a film, a short film, 15-minute film, and you might have about 100 different artists on it around a theme, Reginald.
Right.
Come on, with your smart self. Give me a session for my Yo-Yo School of Hip Hop online. Say yes.
No, you like, look, again, you get into my, my life's goal, which is that, look, funk made, funk brought life on earth, right? Single organisms was funkin', right? And they got us to where we are now. And if we get lost, the mothership comes back and puts us back on course. I mean, that's just nature. You can't fight it. And yes, that story must be told, will be told. Again, I remember, I have these moments where I'll see something in funk and it is like an electrical moment, where I get frozen. I remember going downtown St. Louis in a department store, and the first time I saw the album cover for Clones of Dr. Funkenstein, forget hearing the record, just seeing the album cover, I stared for 15 minutes because it was perfect, from the typeface to the photography. It was years before I figured out, oh, wait a minute, all these people are George, and it's a photo montage they cut together. I was just, the costumes were beautifully designed. The laboratory was perfectly laid out. And I just thought, well, this is what I want in life. Everything I am builds to this image.
Can I say something that was funny about that cover? I made the costume out of tinfoil. It was tinfoil in a leotards and a Halloween mask. And I was all the characters. That was the cheapest cover we did.
Wow.
It was perfection. It was perfection.
And nobody knew what a clone was yet. They didn't hear about DNA until the OJ trial.
Oh, right.
Can you get us a copy of the video, because the one that's on YouTube, it's degraded, and it's such an amazing video. I mean, it's still one of my favorite videos of all time. Can you get us a copy, Reggie?
What? Oh, Paint the White House Black?
Yeah.
You know what I love about this whole Zoom call is everybody is just so free and vocal that I'm hearing so much from everybody. It's actually like we're giving information, but we're retrieving information at the same time. Because all while everybody's talking, I'm hearing Chuck loud and clear. I'm hearing you so loud, you can't help but teach. You can't help but teach. Everything you say it is on point, and it is matter of fact the entire time. George is everybody, Reggie, everybody's talking, and it's just so inspiring at the same time, because when you get leaders on a call, this is what leaders do. Leaders lead, and in no way, shape, or form did you leave anything on the table. For people who are watching this, who will watch it, so many jewels were dropped as we celebrate Paint the White House Black. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm walking away with, I need 15 minutes of something. Come on, I'm tripping over here. I'm I'm playing myself. I'm over here playing myself. Don't try to play me out.
Yo, it's love. I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah.
All of us here are doing. I mean, this is love. You know, love for George, love for the body of work that he's created, love for the moment we were able to all participate, love for each other. I mean, you know, love is a powerful, powerful thing. And yes, love leads to knowledge, right? Because if you love something, you study it. And out of a sudden, you're like, you get a bookshelf like Chuck's behind him. You know, that's a love bookshelf. You know, so
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that, you know, Chuck, who is beloved and adored by everybody, but more than that, I would say probably the most respected rapper of them all, calls Uncle George. You know, I mean, Unc. It's just the concept of that, and the respect is just over the top. And I have to say, from the first time that you said it, I just loved it because it gave a tone to who we were, you know, talking about.
Carrie, I'm gonna rely on you to hook me up to take Uncle Smokey Robinson out to lunch one day.
I want to meet him like that.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. No, that's a definite. Don't even trip on that.
And Chuck, I just want to go on Eventbrite and see that you're doing a 20-minute class that I can pay $20 for.
No, I usually give it all for free. I have the Rap Station Network where we play a lot of your music, past, present, and future. And that right now we're revealing and really opening up the visual side of the app. And please come on. I mean, if you want to do something in your school, go to rapstation.com/app, and the app is all over. We do a lot of curation, and now we're going to open up the visual part because it's tied and all the stuff. And you know, in all the areas like where they're preventing things from happening, like Instagram and Facebook and all that, we invite people onto our area and our platform because we don't have the scrutiny. So all these things are coming in, and I'll send you some connects where you could come on and I come on, and it's free to everybody.
Okay, well, I'd love to. I love that. I'd love to.
I just want to thank everybody for coming on and reliving this. It's been a pleasure. God damn. I mean, we never did this when we actually made the video. We never got together and talk about it like this, but I appreciate the hell out of this. And I'm feeling real good with the new president and shit like that. You know, this is perfect for that. You know, for right now, we're going to paint the White House black again.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
Thanks everybody for being here.
yes.
Thank you so much for coming to join us. Have a good evening.